Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from my channel Hybrid Railway. Now recently we as a family went to the Lake District for a week's holiday in a cottage, and while we were there we went to a narrow gauge railway called the Ravenglass Eskdale Railway, which goes from a station called Delgarth to Boot right the way up to the top to Ravenglass. So while we were there I took the opportunity to take some video and do like a feature length train spotting episode, so I do hope you enjoy this, and I'll just let the video roll and add in some narration where necessary. And there's a couple of points like this where I'm going to take the opportunity just to show you a couple of photos that I took while we were there.
Someone's not turned up.
So here we are departing the Delgarth for Boot station, which is really just called Delgarth station. It's called both Delgarth and Delgarth for Boot station across Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway, but I'll just call it the Delgarth station. So we are departing, we're pulled by the H drive and wheeled engine. I believe it was like an 082 engine, obviously with a tender on the back, and it was called River Urt. So here we are leaving Delgarth station. And in this siding we're approaching here, there's some sort of like track maintenance wagons. In that little thing there you can see some headphones and a couple of pieces of control equipment, and then an engine here called Lady Wakefield. So I think it was more like just a track maintenance siding, I believe. And just up here is another intermediate station, or the first intermediate station I should say, called Beckfoot. Now because of COVID-19 and all of that, and because some of the stations are quite run down because they haven't been used during COVID-19, because on the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway during COVID-19 they didn't have intermediate stations open, obviously, so they don't have staff spread across the entire railway, and I think that means they can basically concentrate the drivers and the cleaners and stuff, so they're just cleaning at either station at either end, Delgarth and Ravenglass, rather than all the intermediate stations as well. So while we were on the Eskdale Railway, all the intermediate stations were closed, unfortunately, but I'm sure they'll reopen in time as they are refurbished and eventually reopened again. Present. And again, another little toot. It's not the only thing tooted, is it? And if you do hear any voices like what you just heard there, me and my dad talking about the pheasant, that was what that little toot was after the engine toot, then don't worry about that. It's just my family talking, and since it is their holiday as well, I can't exactly just tell them to shut up while I'm filming, can I? So if you do hear any voices, then don't worry about that. And here we are at another intermediate station called Fisher Ground, and the campsite that you might see or might have already seen is also called Fisher Ground. I wonder which came first. And just coming up around the corner here is a siding for the two trains to pass each other, because one train sets off from Delgarth to go to Ravenglass, and at the same time a train from Ravenglass sets off to Delgarth, so that there's not just one train on the line and there isn't a massive gap between the trains. So I've heard the toots there, and as you'll have probably heard, I thought it was a two-tone whistle from the train that was pulling ours, River Urt. But it was actually our whistle followed by their whistle, and this engine here in the passing siding is the engine we end up coming back on, as you'll see later. got all the people in the carriages here. I must say I don't like the thought of the closed carriages or even any other carriage apart from the open carriage that we're sat in, because you see they look really cramped, and if you're a bit taller then your head's going to be, you know, you're going to have a crick in your neck. I do think even if it's raining then the open carriages are a much better experience. Plus also you get the nice smell of the smoke or the steam from the engine, and you can also hear the whistles a lot better. All the engines, both the steam engines and the diesel shunting engines that you will see later in this feature-length train spotting video, they all have very nice whistles and horns. I'm glad they are really nice. In fact, I think the whistle on this engine and on the other engine that we've just passed might be some of the best steam whistles I've ever heard. I'm sure there'll be somebody arguing at me in the comments about, oh, mainline engines sound better than this, but in my opinion they're some of the best engine whistles I've ever heard. Here we are at another intermediate station called the Green, and you actually see this when you drive in to the start of the Ravenglass Railway to Eskdale station. You actually see the sign for this, so normally you would be able to pull down to this from a road and get on here instead. But as I said, intermediate stations are closed, and I must say this one looks in better shape than all the others we've seen recently. Keep in all the whistles that the engine made, both going there and coming back. I've tried to keep as many in as possible.
Every time we start filming we seem to get a toot.
Here we have some sidings with like a storage shed or maybe a maintenance shed here.
Been on the trackers, that one.
Not even joking about that either, my brother leaned out of the carriage or sort of stuck his head round it and said, oh, that one's just been on the track. We didn't really have to slow down for it at all, we had to slow down in this area anyway, so sheet moved itself out the way of the big burly chuffing steam engine. I think you would though if you were a sheep, wouldn't you? Yes, another station. I believe this one was called Mirthwaite Holt. Quite difficult to read the sign, but I'm pretty sure that's what it says. And upcoming here we have some old like railway buildings. If you look in that shed, there's all sorts of point levers and bits of track and things, which is quite interesting. station here called Nightside Halt, and as you can see, there was a bench there with like a boat over it, which is quite interesting. There is actually a steam engine on this railway called the River Mite, M-I-T-E, that is. Here you can see a water wheel on the side of that house, and just a couple of seconds after this clip, or after this house, there's a station called Muncaster Mill. So I think that mill was either called Muncaster or they've just named it Muncaster and then mill after, because obviously it is a mill.
Muncaster
Again, quite
Mill.
run down this station, a bit overgrown and not in the best condition, but hopefully when COVID all clears up and all that, then it all gets cleaned up and we can go travel at intermediate stations again. That'd be very nice. Here's the estuary near Ravenglass. Here we have a nice old signal, I believe it's called a semaphore signal. And then on this side we have more storage sheds and some sidings. This is going just before Ravenglass station. And that's one of the diesel locos there called Douglas Ferraria, or Ferraria I think it's called. Quite a nice looking thing is that.
Nice red looking diesel. Yeah, we saw that on the postcard. Also sounds like the make of a chocolate. Ooh, one of the fighter jets back.
Sadly the fighter jets weren't back, and as we realised on the way back, that was just the sound of the bridge, but it did sound convincingly like the fighter jets because we'd seen quite a few in the Lake District that week. And here we are pulling into the station. Some more carriages. That platform you're looking at there, the one with the carriages, is where you go back on. Here we are arriving at Ravenglass, and we've stopped there, and as you can see they are pulling the engine onto the turntable, turning the turntable around and then running it round the runaround siding, a bit like I've got in my stationary in my siding where I have the points that I can open and close and then run the train round. I've also got one in my coal shunting siding. It's just the same there, and they lock the turntable in place, drive the engine off round the front and then couple to the front of the train, because obviously you don't really want to be driving the train tender first, otherwise you'll get a very stiff neck. And it's not easy to see all the controls, but also you don't want to drive it with the train at the front and a carriage at the back, because obviously that's quite dangerous. So here it is running around the train at Ravenglass. At this point there isn't really much to do in Ravenglass. There's a bit of an estuary. We didn't leave the area because we only had like an hour and 10 minutes. There's a museum over there that I didn't take any pictures in, that we went to have a look at, so we just hung around here and ate us sandwiches. Up here we have a Perkins engine, I believe this is. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's got a Perkins engine in it. I believe it's nicknamed Tractor, and this is coming to do some shunting works and pulling onto the turntable there. And round here, turning round, and connecting to these carriages here. Very nice little horn that, isn't it? is back on the turntable again. Here we have some engines just in front of the museum. We didn't actually go in the museum. Well, we did go in the museum, I just didn't take any photos. Here we have an engine, and you can see there's some more engines in the sheds there. A little shunter at the back. And here's like an American looking engine that's like an American-British crossover called Willenbeck, or Willienbeck, or yeah, Willenbeck. That was steaming up, or steaming down. Not really sure what was happening. But soon enough, it was time for us to go back to Dalegarth, and here's our return train pulling into the station. Here we have the River Esk. Kind of reminded me of like an 8F or Black 5 type of engine. Not exactly sure what the wheel configuration is. I think it had 6 driving wheels, but it kind of reminds me of an 8F with a long body and a Black 5 with its sort of quite tall, although actually there it's an 8-wheel driven engine. I think it was like a 482 or maybe a 282, I can't really tell. Couldn't really tell when I was there. I did bend down to have a look at the wheel configuration, but fortunately I couldn't really tell. There's just too many pipes and things in the way.
What's that? No, thank you. Very pleasurable run. Are you picking up Sam? Picking extra?
And our train for the return journey is again running round, and it's moving to platform 2, the one you saw on the way in. It's going to the front of that train, I believe. Here it comes, reversing back down the line to the front of the observation carriage, which does look very nice, although it's very expensive. You are enclosed. Half the time you're facing backwards, you're right at the back of the train or right at the front of the train, and you can't really get the feel of the air rushing past, and you can't really hear the whistle, and you can't smell the smoke. So although some people might like to ride in luxury, me and my family all agree that it's a lot better, a lot cheaper, but a lot more beneficial to actually ride in an open carriage. If not a semi-open carriage, the ones with the roof might be okay, but other than that, much prefer an open carriage. Here we are leaving for the return journey. The guard getting on there, which I said to my brother Ben, looks a bit like Tony Green from Bullseye. I'm a bit young for that, but still know what it is. And that waving motion you see there, I think, is the guard, saying up, up, up with the speed, because the guard can see when all the carriages are out the platform, so he's saying, go on, get your send going faster. Estuary again is there. And I won't narrate all the station names again, because you've already seen them coming here, but here is the very nice Muncaster Mill, very nice house at the side of the railway. I think anyone watching this video would like to have that house, a lovely garden as well. And there's this woman riding the ride on lawnmower, and I like mowing the grass, so you know, dream come true for me here. I can appreciate here that my phone and my arms actually does look like it's stuck way out of the carriage, but I orientate it in such a way that my head mostly kept inside the carriage, a bit like that girl in front there who's just got a shoulder on the arm of the carriage. Just kept my shoulder there, poked my head out so I could see what I was filming, and in case there were any posts in the way I can move my head back in. Stuck my head out like those two girls there, and then put my arms on the phone in such a way so I could film, but obviously not having them stuck 3 feet out and potentially getting whacked by a pole. So I appreciate that it might look like I'm being a bit dangerous here, sticking my arms out, but trust me, I did it in such a way so that it was safe. Although in fact, looking there, that isn't the station we saw, because I was on the other side of the carriage. So Earton Road, everyone, that one is. I see a station that we haven't seen before, then I will narrate its name, in fact. And I must say that while this girl was keeping her head inside the carriage, she most certainly was not keeping her arm inside the carriage. Please don't do this, because if your arms get caught in the slipstream and get whipped under the side of the carriage, that engine at the front is under no sweat pulling all these people. So if it gets caught in something under the carriage or it whacks a pole, because about where her arm is now is where many poles were coming through on this railway, so potentially she could have whacked her arm on a pole and had a serious bruise on it, or it could have got caught in the slipstream of the train but got caught underneath the train or caught in the wheels. So please don't do that. You don't know what's on the railway, especially if you're going around a curve like that. If you're on the left hand side of the carriage, which she just was, then it's difficult to see what's coming. You can potentially get very badly bruised, or if you do it bad enough your arm can get caught, and she's doing it here again, look, right next to the wheels where the train would be. Very risky move. And also there was a bloke who decided to step out onto the tracks, albeit there was nothing there, but he decided to step out onto the tracks in order to take a photo. Please treat a narrow gauge railway as if it is a full size railway. You wouldn't dream of going out onto the tracks on a standard gauge railway, a 4 foot 8.5 inch, so you shouldn't do it on a narrow gauge one either.
No, sorry, I had a ticket for the ticket match. What? I had a ticket for the test match. Oh.
And here we have some railway workers coming up who were trimming this sort of almost like a mini valley that the train went through. Quite interesting actually, and nice to see the different terrain and the different scenery on this railway. Very interesting railway. I do recommend you go if you are going to the lakes. And somebody else there. Here we are pulling back into Dalegarth Station, and the track maintenance vehicles down this side again. So then, as we round the final corner into Dalegarth Station, or Dalegarth per boot station, on the Ravenglass and Eskdale Steam Railway, I would just like to say thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you found it interesting, and you were able to see some good elements of the Ravenglass and Eskdale Railway. Obviously this video was heavily edited down. I got as much filming as I could on this railway, not just for YouTube purposes but also my own purposes and sending to family and stuff like that. Overall I had about an hour and 7 minutes of total footage, and I've edited it down to just under 31 minutes. So I did manage to edit it down, sorry. So that it was more watchable. Showed you some key points of the scenery of the station, showed you the journey there and back to Ravenglass and from Ravenglass back to Dalegarth, and we got some good photos there, I think. We got some good video as well, and I just wanted to get everything in as much as I could without making it too long of a video, and got some nice photos with a little bit of music in there for the photos for you as well. So thank you very much for watching today's video. I really am glad that you enjoyed it, and I would just like to say stay safe, thank you for watching, and I do hope to see you again very, very soon. Take care of yourself, folks, and see you soon.